who was speaking yesterday to my colleague Yvonne Okwara, really calling out for the culpability of the people who bungled the August 8th election. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, Honorable David Cousin. We've had this before about, Chiloba must go, and quite a number of other demands that have been put across by NASA. Do you think that in all the demands that they're making, I mean, there are quite a number of them, maybe 7 of them, is there anything that you think is can add value to overseeing and, giving Kenyans a credible election?
Thank you, Betty. And before I make that comment, there was a comment that cannot be let go because that will mislead the country, which was said earlier by my colleague, Kale. But I think, as I said earlier, when we are coming to some of these discussions, this is not a political rally. This is an informative discussion. Thank you. Yes, and I want to clarify that because that is a misleading statement.
Okay, what do you want to
What he said is that those people who are indicted by Supreme Court in IBC should go. Nobody. And even Supreme Court, and I want to ask people, you have to listen, and before you come to some of these informative discussions like this, then you have to get yourself informed by the Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court ruling was very clear that they didn't find any individual culpable, criminally culpable, in IBC. That is what they said. And we should not mislead the country because the rulings are there. That is one that I want to correct, and that's why I'm saying that this informative, this very big advantage you have been given by KTN need actually to be taken with the respect that it deserves. Now, coming to the demands, where we have a problem and where I have a problem, Betty, is that first of all, their mind is that they're not ready for election, so they want to raise roadblocks to make sure that doesn't happen as it happens. Because you asked a question which has not been answered. You ask them, realistically, how practical are these? How can these changes be made practically? My colleague never answered that question because, first of all, it said no. It's impossible, and that is why I'm saying, out of those, even what he said that, the people have already been reported to DPP. Who reported them? It is NASA who reported them. It's NASA who wrote a letter to DPP and said, if you don't investigate these guys, then we are going to take it ourselves. How can one player, competitor, take people to DPP and tell them and force them and say, leave? If, for example, they were taken to DPP by IEBC, that would be a different thing. So that is why I'm trying to say that whatever they are saying, it is not, Betty, in our opinion and my opinion as an individual, they are not honest in their demands. They just want to raise roadblocks. Look, what's happening now? Ideally and naturally, you would expect people to be doing campaign. They're only 20 days. You could expect people moving around the country, soliciting for votes, asking for votes, going to these people, asking for votes, and exciting their bases. What's happening with NASA? They are only doing press conferences. They're not ready for election. And what has happened? They have created fatigue among their supporters. In fact, I will tell you, there will be en masse defection very soon. What did you have seen? Yesterday, a very important person in Western defected to Jubilee. Honorable Yusuf Chanzu. He's a very powerful guy. I know him. He's a very senior member. He was a very senior member in Parliament. He's already in Jubilee. Akaranga. All these people who are in NASA have seen that because NASA are not ready for election, now people are going to where it's ready for election. And they have really brought that fatigue to their supporters. And that's why we're saying Uhuru Kenyatta in this 26th election is going to win by more than 3 million. Because, and in fact, even I met some of them when I was coming here. And they were telling us, because NASA are not ready for election, some of us may not even go to vote for NASA. And some people are saying now we are going to vote for Jubilee. They're going to suffer.
All right. Caleb, your response to that. And also my question earlier about the practicability about these demands that are being made by NASA.
Yeah. Now that my colleague has also once again poked holes in our campaign strategy, I think it's also good to respond to his allegations that NASA is not campaigning, that people are defecting, and it's very naive to actually allude to such things because defections has been there in this country since time immemorial. Defections are not new. Either way, vice versa, they come from NASA, they go to Jubilee. That's normal. It's nothing to
we've been
show.
Seeing of late quite a number of
it's normal. It's normal. Those are just a few people who are hungry for money, and they'll be given. They'll come back. That's normal. We are used to that. But the ground is still steady fast in NASA. That's very normal. We are used to that. Now, number 2 is saying about when you can't force your opponent to go and campaign. You campaign. Why are you forcing us to go and campaign?
Nobody's forcing you.
Yeah, you just go campaign. People have their own strategy. And remember, NASA do not need to campaign. We already have our supporters out there. Okay. They are the same people we talked to just a couple of weeks ago, asking to vote from them. We can't keep on disturbing people in rallies all over.
He mentioned it's to excite the voters. Once again,
our voters are already excited ever since we left the election. Our voters are just waiting for the date that the IBC will announce. Now let's go. It's like now trying to who are already pregnant lady. You are trying. It's already pregnant. So what are you trying to who again? You know, these are people already. They don't have the votes. We don't even know where they got these votes. Now they are trying to find where can we now try to get these votes. NASA does not need to campaign on that note. On your note, Betty, irreducible minimum is actually what the Jubilee should actually support in NASA for us to get out of this stalemate. What are we asking for? We're asking for, and by the way, for your information, Supreme Court do not necessarily point on individuals in terms of the wrongs they have done. Mm-hmm. When you take the case that was before Supreme Court was a presidential election to be nullified. That was the case before the Supreme Court. Now, Supreme Court cannot start pointing fingers at individuals. That is the work of the DPP.
But the same Supreme Court that nullified the election
the Supreme
said
Court,
that it cannot really indict.
It cannot,
yes.
Because whatever the case was presented to Supreme Court was not to held who was culpable. That was not the case before. Even if though the law was broken, that was not the case before the Supreme Court. It cannot do that. What is not be presented to them. So that's why it directed that now the relevant authority, and this is the Director of Public Prosecution, should take charge and now prosecute. Anyway, it happens all cases. If there is a case in nullification of MCA, MP, and all over, the court cannot start, taking individuals and all that. It only gives that this law was broken. Right. So it is up to the Director of Public Prosecution to find out who are the individuals who are in this case. There is the chairman and the CEO. And that's why I say, the DPP, you are taking us slow. Let Kenyans tell these people step aside. The people have even refused to step aside. Right. Because the time limit, again, we cannot even allow the TPP to do his work. We are asking, you first of all ask Chepkati and his colleague, kindly step aside. Because you've been found culpable. And then now we can have a new individual.
We're about to start wrapping up, but also just going back to the demands by NASA, there are two things that are key. One of it is Al Ghurair. IBC has been hell-bent, saying that we cannot cancel this tender because we have a 2-year contract that is running. And, cancelling a contract is also something that is illegal and will be subjected to a court procedure. But also, the other thing about OT Morpho, just the other day, IBC injected about 2.4 billion shillings to reconfigure this kit. So the wheel really is rolling. Don't you think really that we should do what is possible and then move on? Because time is really running out.
Yes, agreed. And that was actually our fear from the onset. Remember, NASA started giving these demands a while back. Okay. It is not yesterday. Yes. We started giving demands like, hey, we have 60 days. Time is running. Can you clear your house first? We thought these are the things that were discussed in the Supreme Court, and if you don't clear them. So it was upon the IBC to call the NASA team, to call the Jubilee, and the Chepkati did mention in a memo. He actually threw a memo to his colleagues and said, can we get an explanation to these things? It is not even a demand from NASA alone. Even Chepkati was demanding the same thing, a memo that was never responded to. Right. And if it did, then maybe it's not in the public domain. Okay. But that is an issue that even Chepkati himself got concerned with, that, listen, we can't go to this election with the same things as they are, we'll still go back to the Supreme Court. So these demands are not outrageous as the Jubilee are making the public to believe. Right. It's actually supposed to help us move this election smoothly. And remember, we are not the people who have the demands alone. These people have put a case, an electoral amendment law.
And I was coming to that. Yes. And I'd like just to ask David to explain to us. There are critics who are saying that this bill that is going to be tabled before Parliament is really to focus on rigging the election in favor of Uhuru Kenyatta, because some of the proposals that are being made, really, some of them are not needed, and some really are just to ensure that come 26 October, the president is declared, and that will be Uhuru Kenyatta.
That's a good concern, Betty, but I'll clarify that. But before that, there's some things which my colleague is trying to mislead the nation. First of all, it's now very clear that he doesn't want to answer you. You just asked how practical are these, and they have refused. We were not forcing them to answer. Maybe he doesn't know. Number two, he is even also misleading himself. That they are waiting for IBC to announce the date, then to excite the voters. Already the date was announced by IBC. It was gazetted. It was, so that is why I'm saying, I think before people come to such a very important discussion, that they need actually the primary information. Now, coming to the law in Parliament, first of all, we need to clarify a propaganda which is being peddled around, that committee is illegal. You know, I was listening even to your reporter in Bunge saying that, you know, there are some people who are purporting that this is an illegality. That is not an illegality. Article 124 of the Constitution very clearly states how our committees are formed. And for the benefit of the nation, I want to read that each House of Parliament may establish a committee, right? That is 124.1. And for this joint committee is provided for under Article 124.2, which is Parliament may establish joint committees comprising of members of both houses, which is now in County Hall. Parliament comprising of both houses. Where is minority and where is majority? It doesn't. In fact, the Parliament in presidential system, parliamentarians are one. Me and my colleague here, we are parliamentarians. We are equal before law in a presidential system where we chose for ourselves as a nation. These people have forgotten that we are in a new constitution. And therefore, number one, the committee is properly constituted within the law. That is number one. But the laws, which are saying that they are supposed to facilitate rigging of election, that is far from the truth. That is should be thrown away. That idea should be thrown away. You know why? The Supreme Court ruled that, number one, and basically they said, this Form 34A, which is from polling station, was not properly signed. Form 34B from constituency tallying center was not properly signed. So are you going to say now, okay, well, we just keep quiet and go for election and then come back when people did not sign? Who was supposed to sign? The presiding officer. And therefore, we have come up with a law to say, if you don't do your work that's supposed to be done, then you should be jailed so that we protect the voter. Where is the legality? Where is the rigging, that one, Betty?
All right.
Where is the rigging?
We have to wrap up the conversation. Let me have your final thoughts as we do that.
Yes, I need to respond. Where you can deduce from my friend's allegations, when you're saying these forms were not properly signed. Properly, what is being proper? Because there was an existing
Supreme
law.
Court that said.
Yes, that's fine. And please let me speak on this. The forms were not properly signed. So what is proper? It means there was an existing law. So it was not in the accordance with that law. So why are we introducing a new law? And yet there was a law. It's only that you did not follow that law. No. Yeah? Are you getting? Because you're actually saying it was not done in a proper manner.
Right.
So what was this proper manner? The proper manner was already there. Remember, we do not need a new law. IBC has stated categorically, we do not need a new law. They have not complained that they are deficient of laws to govern our election. They're okay. The international community have actually alluded. They have experience of electoral process all over the world. Kenya is not an exception. We are not the first country to hold the election. All over the world, you cannot have a country going to an election and start amending laws just a few days to the election. It never happens. It cannot happen. It only brings a confusion.
We have to wrap up. I want to hear your thoughts. We are pressed for time.
All right.
Just 40 seconds. Just talk to us about really what the way forward is with all these issues.
Good. Thank you, Betty, and thank you for bringing us here. In fact, way forward. Number one is, if NASA are not ready for election, then the court should exercise Article 138.1. and declare the only person remaining to be the presidential elect. Number two, if they are ready for election, they should be prepared not to incite, not to subvert, not to intimidate voters so that they don't vote and want to benefit from the same law that they are breaking under Article 138.2. They should be prepared for that, and that is why we have gone to court to seek clarification so that now we move. This country needs to move forward, Betty. Our people need to move in their work. But finally, and very finally,
yes, very finally,
ambassadors gave their opinion and said international practice.
Yes.
You know, there are only 3 countries that have been in this scenario where we are in. So there's no international practice, Madam Betty. We are in a unique situation that requires a unique direction that we have taken now. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Caleb, your final thoughts, 40 seconds, please.
Those 40 seconds, I'll leave you with an analogy of one famous Greek philosopher called Aristotle. Aristotle was a student of Plato. And Plato's views of the world was that the current world we live in is different from the real world. But Aristotle was able to go against that, even though he was his student, and said, no, I've actually examined what you taught me and find out, actually, this world is the real world. So it's just a concern to our colleagues. Do not play in the shoes of your political patron. It comes a time when you need to be sober up and reason as an individual, as an elected member of parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, gentlemen, for your time and for all your insights. I've been speaking to Honorable David Kosin, who's a Pokot South Member of Parliament, together with Honorable Caleb Amisi, who is a Saboti Member of Parliament. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. All right.